Hey everyone, today I want to show you a simple supply and demand strategy that you can easily implement. And I was able to record my screen live while I took the trade so you can see my executions. But first I want to explain the trade very thoroughly on my screen here and explain what I was thinking, what the process was, why I took the trade, where my risk was, and where my profit target was as well. And then I'm going to show you the trade live in action and you can hear my thoughts while I'm actually in the trade. So you'll be able to see how it really feels to actually be in a trade live in the moment.
Oh my God! Wow!
This is gonna be a good video for you guys, and I know if you get any value from this, you're gonna hit that subscribe button and share with another trader. Let's get started. Before I take any trade, I always wanna take a look at the big picture. And if you look at the daily, you'll see that this line here that I already drew is very important. It shows that there's a lot of demand here back in August, September, October, of 2020, and then it becomes supply, right? When it breaks down, demand becomes supply and it can't break above, and it tries to attempt it and then fails. And so this is a very important line. And this is gonna come into play later in the trade. So I always draw the big picture lines first, the ones that really stand out. And this line stands out to me. It's so obvious. And I think it'll stand out to you too once you grasp the idea of technical analysis in supply and demand. On Friday, it squeezed all the way up above the supply area, right? It broke above it, but then it held below. So supply was still there, it was still heavy, and it couldn't hold above it. But then the next day, we attempt to break above it once again, and then what happens? We fell. So supply is very important here, and what we start to form is a downtrend line, as you can see here. And when we start to form that downtrend line, that's something that I want to keep an eye on, because now we have a formation forming, right? A descending triangle, because I drew a support line here, which is also demand, because every time we start to drop here after hitting supply, there's demand here. People are buying, and then it starts to pop back up. Then it fails because of supply, and then we have demand all right here. We can't break below the demand line, which is also support. So because we can't break below that, I want to take this time to say thank you to our sponsor, COBRA Trading. COBRA Trading is the go-to broker for day traders and short sellers. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, Benzinga awarded COBRA Trading as the go-to broker for short selling. They have a heavy focus on direct market access order routing, so you have the fastest execution. They have some of the best locate prices and availability. They also have amazing customer service. I've experienced many different brokers, and it's why I use them every single day and why I'm proud to have them as our sponsor. Sign up now by clicking the Be the Trader referral link below and earn 1 free month of software with COBRA and 25% off all commissions. Now let's get back to the show. This is important to me because it's Tuesday, it's today, the day I take the trade, and I'm watching this, but I'm looking at what happened before. Like, I want to see the whole picture. I know we squeezed above supply, but we couldn't break above it and hold. So supply is still key. We tried again the next day, we couldn't hold, so it's still key. But this time, we create a new demand zone, which is right here at 842. And we'll make this a yellow color just so it's easy on the eyes. So supply is blue, demand is yellow. Now on Tuesday, which is today when I take the trade, and you're gonna be able to see this trade live because I recorded my screen and I'm gonna show it to you here on this video. So make sure to stay for that. You'll see the executions itself. But here, whenever pre-market happens and we can't break below the demand area, this is important to me and I wanna pay attention. So when we actually hold the 830s and push with some volume, and we're gonna go zoom in a little bit now to the 5 minutes, one of my favorite time frames. I use all time frames to look, but I'm very keen on the 5 minute. I start to notice pre-market, we have a new descending triangle formation. And why I say descending triangle, I'm considering this right here. If you draw a line, extend this is a descending triangle, and this is a descending triangle. So I'm paying attention to that, and this is more forming a short setup. However, I also notice there's a potential long setup here, which is a trade I ended up taking. Because big picture, I was thinking if we break below these micro supply zones, that we could potentially set up to break the main supply zone and hold above it, and then really rip to the new highs and maybe get to 11. That's what I was thinking. So at the open, if we zoom in here, we tanked and supply is holding and we hold the demand. So that is super important to me. And when we squeeze above it, I'm not just going to trade it right away because this demand's holding, because supply is all right here. But this is where things change. When you see that supply starts to act as demand, which you see here, let's go to the 1 minute. You see it right here. Supply starts to act as demand. We try to break down, boom, we got a lot of buyers, we got a lot of demand here. We try to break down these next two candles, nope, we push. Then we have a panic candle here, this pretty nice extended candle. And then what do? We hold and we hesitate. Hesitation is very important because we have the ability to just break down and tear apart. But instead, what are we doing? We're not. We're pushing back up. We start to form a new descending triangle, and then we tank again. So this is when I start to pay attention to it, because I'm like, okay, we're holding the old supply as demand and it's not breaking down. And so when I zoom in here, I actually pay attention very closely to this drop, because I wanted to see if it held. If it held, I'm interested as a buyer and I wanted to get in, because I was wanting to anticipate that this micro descending triangle was going to break, which was going to cause this other descending triangle to break, which could potentially cause the bigger picture descending triangle to break. If multiple things start breaking, we can really get a squeeze, right? Which only two started to break, as you can see, and we really got to move. This made it a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1 trade.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 M's in my bank account.
And this is something you don't see every day. So let me explain something. When I saw supply holding as demand right here, as soon as I saw this green candle, this very bullish candle that was engulfing the previous candle, I'm getting in. I got in right away, risking right below this supply area, because I want to make sure that if this breaks, then I'm wrong. So I have a very tight risk reward. I'm risking about 5 to 7 cents because I get in at 902. With slippage, we'll say 10 cents if I'm wrong. So I want to make sure that I get a good entry, and I want to add more size to this as well if I can. And when we have a pullback, it gave us an opportunity to add more size, and I believe I missed this opportunity because there is a conflicting interest. One conflicting interest is that I was worried that this supply zone, this descending triangle, tends to act and be respected, and I didn't want it to be respected too well and me have too much size. So I just got my full size that I was comfortable with for this play and immediately started selling on this push. Now the reason why I ended up selling on the push is because we have these areas. We have multiple areas of resistance. We have this area, and then we have this area, and then we have this area. So those are my areas of interest, including this descending triangle. So I want to make sure that I'm careful with my executions. So because of that, I'm going to be very careful and making sure that I take profits along the way, which made this play a really good play. What you need to notice is this setup has multiple setups within itself. You know, some people are scalpers and they might be scalping this setup here, which is fine, but I'm seeing that there's multiple setups within one big picture setup, which means I have a lot of eyes here, right? The traders are trading on the 5 minute, the traders are trading on the 1 minute, the traders are trading the 15 minute, the 20. Like, they're all paying attention to this, and the fact that we have a major level that is finally acting as demand. And before, we actually have a key level, if you see, as support, or AKA demand. And then once supply acted as demand, this was a huge trigger for me. So let me show you this trade. So on this play, I ended up taking a small position at 902 because we were holding this support, and there's multiple reasons. Number one, at the open, well, there is a big descending triangle, which I was aware of, and definitely need to sell up here. But I like that we held this 840 level at the open, and then we pushed up. And then once we pushed up, we actually held this resistance, became support here at 895, which is where my stop is. So I took a small position, well, not small, I took a very tight risk position at 902, anticipating that this mini downtrend was going to break, which it did, and anticipating that this new downtrend was going to break, because I thought once we broke here, breached it, and pulled back and held twice, that we could re-break, which we did. So I sold a small piece. You'll see here, I sold a small piece right here. And after selling that small piece, I am looking to hold the rest for at least the 950s, this next pivot, and then the 990s. Because if we do start to break this downtrend, excuse me, because if we do start to break this descending triangle, I do think we're going to go to the main triangle, which I'm anticipating to sell all in this area. I will hold a small piece if it looks super strong to see if we can get a big squeeze, but for now I'm just trying to play the move and trying to be really careful with this. So that was my entry, and now you can see when I'm in the trade live how my thought process is going. And it's good to watch your own trades, because then you can actually coach yourself and see some things or mistakes or ways you can improve. Now let me show you what happens as a trade unfolds. Let me show you this other clip real quick. I ended up cutting the rest of COGT because it broke 930. And I'm done with that trade for the day. You can see that execution here. Overall, I do like this trade very much. So as you can see here, I ended up selling at the key targets that I mentioned before. And I was aware, because I'm looking at a big picture, that the 980s is a key level that I want to make sure I sell most of my position in between the 940s and the 980s, because I know there's a high chance it could hold. So even though I'm long biased on this trade, I'm also aware of how to short. I also short as well. And that's how I actually started my trading career. So because of that, I'm able to use that skill and acknowledge that this is potentially a short setup. That way you can know where your targets are. And then the easy way to know that, we don't have to be a short seller, is you need to know where supply is. Where is there resistance? If there's resistance there, you want to start selling. I sold the majority of my position all the way up, and I had about a quarter of it left when it broke the 930s, as you can see on my chart here, the 930s, where I cut it off for even a small gain since my average was 902. So if this is something you get value from and you want more content like this where I go into detail and I show you my screen, make sure to like and subscribe and check out our Discord room. It's free, where I post my charts and my recaps with annotations. It's all about traders helping traders. So I hope to see you there. And again, thanks for sharing the show with any other friends.